What's up, guys? It is Dave, it is Duncan, back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. And for this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from three-piece desert rock godfathers, STÖNER. The band's new album, Totally, will be released on May 6th via Heavy Psych Sounds. So, I don't know if it's pronounced stoner or if it's like STÖNER or, if they've got one of those weird kind of
I mean, they're American and it's desert rock, so I'm just going to call it STÖNER.
Let's go with STÖNER. So this is the second album from STÖNER, who have only been on the go since 2020. The band is made up of Brant Bjork from Kyuss and ex-Fu Manchu, Nick Oliveri from Mondo Generator, ex-Kyuss and Queens of the Stone Age, and Ryan Gut from Brant Bjork's other band, his kind of solo band. The album was produced.
Damn royalty right now.
Really is. The album was produced, recorded, and mixed by Yusuf Sanborn and STÖNER, with guest appearances by Greg Hetson from the Circle Jerks and Mario Lally from Yawning Man on guitar. So, Duncan, we checked out one of the singles, did a little reaction to A Million Beers.
Yeah, I'm only on beer 15 since then, so it'll take me a while. I'm not saying I'm going to hit the million, but god damn it, I'm going to try.
Good for you. We were pretty much sold on that first single.
This is an anomaly for me. Like you are an anomaly for me, because I don't know how many times I've tried to get you into like bands like a Queens of the Stone Age, for example, and you're non-plus on them. You're like, I like that. But then occasionally, like a proper like desert rock stoner band comes along, and you're like, Duncan, I am in on this, and it confuses me because
I love Kyuss. I was the same. I'm a big
Kyuss fan.
Love that band. Queens of the Stone Age. I don't know if it was just
it too commercial or too weird for you.
I think it was too commercial.
Right.
I think that's what it was. But then occasionally, another band will come along and I'm like, oh, I like the cut of that jib, so I'm going to get me some STÖNER. But that was only one single. I hadn't listened to anything else. Didn't know what the rest of the album was going to sound like. But did the rest of the album live up to our lofty expectations?
Yes, is the answer to that question.
Okay. Tell me more.
Yeah, like this is exactly what I wanted. Like it couldn't have been any more. If it had been any more on the nose, I would have punched myself in the face. That's like that. There's something comforting about a band that just sounds like they are like doing it for the love of the music. Like like the actual good times, good friends, just talented musicians, and just jamming out like motherfuckers. And that's kind of what you get with STÖNER. That at no point does this band take itself too seriously, and that kind of aids it. I'm not. That's not to say that like stoner rock or desert rock or whatever tends to take itself seriously. It probably doesn't as much, but there are certain musicians that certainly treat it with maybe a higher reverence than it necessarily deserves.
Yeah.
And STÖNER, I think because of the kind of founding fathers being involved with this, I think those airs and graces are gone, and it's really more about the music and less about the musicians involved. Like this to me doesn't feel like, three guys who were, needed to do something during COVID, so an album came out. Rather, it kind of felt like three guys that were jamming music and kind of felt like, you know what, we should probably record this and put this out. And that does my heart good. There's a huge swath of tongue-in-cheek throughout the entirety of this, right from Party March, the opening track, which is a great fucking song title, and just those. It's how do you distill the sound of stoner rock guitar? It's really, really, because it's kind of fuzzy and it's kind of buzzy, but it's also kind of bouncy and kind of hazy, and like kind of fuzzy and kind of buzzy. Like I don't know how you like it is. It's kind of, there's something about it like that just instantly gets me in the feels every time I hear it. And the tones, like everything on this. Like, listen, you've got Nick Oliveri on the bass. He's maybe one of the most unsung bass players of all time. I think he gets tarred with the "he used to play on stage naked" sort of brush, and I think that takes away from the incredible talent he is. You only have to listen to anything Queens of the Stone Age has done post his departure to see that there's a huge missing space in there where there was just a bassist that commands a degree of attitude, presence, and a sound. And when you have those fuzzy guitars and this like lofty, incredibly rock rhythmic bass like sitting behind it, you're in safe hands. So like the guitar work pretty much speaks for itself through tracks like Party March and A Million Beers, which, like we mentioned, was the track that got us all in the mood. Strawberry Creek, Dirty Feet. I mean, once again, it's a fun song, but it has a kind of like there's a 70s swath through it.
Yeah.
Which I love, and then the album just elevates to the next level. Just when you think you've got a grasp on the quirk and the fun and the kind of the short bursts of energy, the boys land like an 8-minute track on you out of fucking nowhere, and it's brilliant. It takes you through all these twists and turns. Weirdly, doesn't feel like 8 minutes. You know, like there's enough movements without it like mixing up too much that I kind of love it, and then it gets back to its fun. I think there's a few things that really, really stood out for me on this one. One, and we do it a lot, we talk about it a lot because I think we're overcompensating because he's not here tonight. The production on this is one of the reasons I smile as much as I do. I think if this was polished a bit better, some of its charm would rub off, and it would actually be a lesser album for it. I think there's not a, because it's not clean.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Like it's like it doesn't feel like it's precision placement. Doesn't feel like it's been played to a click.
Yeah.
It just kind of feels like it's been jammed in a room.
Yep.
That, those rougher edges and make it more endearing as an album. I think vocally it's fucking awesome. I love his tone. Once again, he's not an incredible singer, but he has a sound that was only ever really meant to be in one genre, and he just happened to find it. And then I think my only kind of big criticism on this one is I think there's maybe one, possibly two songs which kind of feel like, all right, they're not as good as the rest, but the rest of the album's fucking really good. So like the kind of fun that you get on a kind of filler track like Stoner Theme, does it need to be in there? You could argue no. Did I want it in there? Yes, it comes off an 8-minute opus, so the fact you're having a bit of fun, you're doing a bit of filler, you're singing gibberish, kind of makes me smile. I think the only other track that I thought kind of felt a bit, not pedestrian, but like, that doesn't necessarily be there, but I'm okay with it, was Driving Miss Lacey, which is the second to last track, which I thought was fine. Once again, I thought it was fine, but I don't necessarily, it didn't make a dramatic step from anything they'd done before. So it is very much of a style and a thrust, but it finishes so fucking strong, man. Great American Sage is the tits. Absolutely loved it. So I think what's interesting about the band is, do I think it's as good as any of their other projects? I wouldn't say it's better than, but I wouldn't say that it pisses on the legacy of any of those acts. I think it sits comfortably amongst them, which is something that is not easy to do when you have guys who are founding members of a specific sound and genre. You expect, there's a reason, like some of those, I listened to, I don't know if you checked out that, and we're going in an aside here, ladies and gents, pull up a chair. I'd listened to the track that's just launched from that super group of fucking Pearl Jam, and was it Nirvana, and fucking Soundgarden, and all the rest of them, just released a song. Right. I listened to it and I thought, that was alright. And then I'm looking at the musicians and I'm like, you are from some of the seminal bands of that era. So I don't know what I was expecting, but it was just meh. It's just all right.
Yeah.
I listened to this, and this isn't meh. This is great.
Yeah.
It's fun. It dares you not to get into it. I really struggled not to pick up a beer when listening to it every single time, which is difficult when you're listening to it at like 9 in the morning. Not impossible, but difficult. And so it has all that in there. Is this gonna set your world on fire? No. Is this gonna reinvent? Is this the album that people are going to be talking about 20 years from now as the definitive, desert rock, like fuzz rock, whatever we want to call it, album? No. But is it a fucking great album? Yes. I can hear the fun all the way through this. I can hear the intention.
Yeah.
And that's a rare thing. I think sometimes people just release music because they're musicians and they feel the need to, because that's a career. And then there's other musicians that release things and it's because you can hear the love in what they do. And that's Stoner. I think you'd have to be pretty dead inside not to enjoy this album. You know what I mean? I think there's there's a lot of that fuzz, that big old fuzz in there, and it just makes I don't know. I am a shill. I am a mark for this sort of music. It makes me happy. This is the sort of stuff that I could just spin and spin and spin and not get bored of, but at no point be like, this is challenging me on every level. It's not that sort of music. It's just fun music, and it's really fucking well done.
I know what you mean.
That's my thoughts on Totally by Stoner.
Yeah. It's very much a vibe album. Like
that's what I was looking for. Couldn't tell you. Yeah.
It's not super technical. It's not an album you need to overthink. And like style wise, it pretty much follows on from their first album, which was very kind of jam based, very fluid, generally just kind of goes with the flow. I think this one's got a slightly more harder edge. It's not quite as laid back as Stoner's Rule, which was the last album. This has a little bit more of that. It's not punk, but it's got a slightly harder bite mixed in with that like desert rock sound, and that comes across in the production as well. But it's an album that has a bit more drive to it overall. You can hear that like from the kind of rhythmic kind of stomp on that opener Party March, and then you've got like a load more kind of vocal hooks on this as well, which we kind of got a taste of on A Million Beers.
Taste is enough if it's a million, Dave.
But and that continues like throughout the album, but you've now got Brant and Nick actually sharing a more kind of equal part in the vocals as well, which I think was a smart move. I think it gives you a bit more texture, a bit more variance in the vocals. Yeah,
the Stoner theme's a great play on that though. It's like you just don't get when one of them is just literally shouting Stoner. Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to smile at that, but you're also thinking to yourself, you didn't know what to sing on this song, did you? You just Stoner. Just reminded me of you ever seen the movie Step Brothers?
Yeah.
Right. See at the end of Step Brothers when fucking Big Will Ferrell's up there singing "Time to Say Goodbye," and fucking John C. Reilly in the back's like bolts and hose, like, at bits where it's like whenever there's a break, he's like bolts and hose, and kind of just filling in those awkward. I loved it. But
I did enjoy it. I think they kind of tested that a little bit on the first album, but there's a more kind of equal split on the vocals, which I think was a bit more interesting. Because I think Nick does have quite a quirky kind of tone to his voice, which I quite like as well.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah. I think when the riffs are on point, like they are really infectious this time around. Like there's some really kind of awesome groove riffs on this. I really liked the riff on Driving Miss Lazy.
It's cool. But
yeah, I think it felt a bit like a bit more like a more kind of dialed back I Hate God at times, which I really liked. And then you've also got some quite kind of psychedelic vocals on that track as well, where you hear Brant trying a bit more of a kind of smoother, more melodic tone, which I thought was really good actually. And then the last track, which was quite interesting as well. Plenty of kind of smoky kind of groove riffs, which I probably wouldn't be out of place on a kind of Kyuss album. It's got a bit of cowbell in there as well, which is a requirement on an album like this as well. Let's let's never get the cowbell. My only kind of problem with this is that I felt there were some moments on the release where they do kind of sink into that heavy kind of jam vibe, and things go a little bit more experimental for a little bit too long.
You're not a fan of Desert Sessions, are you?
No.
Like, see, I love the Desert Sessions releases, and a lot of those are just it's Josh Homme and a group of musicians locking themselves away.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love all that shit, so you less so.
No. I kind of switched off, to be honest, like, and I kind of forgot what was going on. It just kind of felt like a blur afterwards. And maybe you're right. That's maybe the desired effect. But I personally preferred the kind of hookier moments of the album than those kind of like more kind of drawn out experimental moments. But I think like fans of Brant, Bjork and Nick Oliveri's like past bands probably won't mind that. Maybe we'd probably skip them in the future though.
Do you know what it's like being a vocalist? Literally what we are, a vocalist in a band practice room, is literally that feeling that you've just described, where you hear everyone fucking around for 2 hours and you're like, I'm so glad that I'm paying a quarter of this rehearsal space. It's totally worth my money right now.
Yeah, true. Production though is really good. I think it works like a charm. It's got a kind of warm, fuzzy, very kind of natural desert rock sound. But as I said, it's got a little bit more bite than the previous album, which I think it's been a conscious decision because of the kind of approach that they've taken on these tracks, the kind of the style and the sound they went for with these ones. As I say, it's kind of similar to you. I think this is a good album. I don't think it's gonna be in any end of year lists for me, but there's some real kind of standout tracks that I can definitely see myself going back to. Ratings, what did you think for Totally by Stoner? What would you give it?
Totally. This is a 4 for me. I really, really like this one.
Yeah.
I don't have maybe the same issues on the kind of jam session stuff on there, because like I say, I have been listening to it for a long time. Like I'm like big fan of all those Desert session releases, even though some of these guys are only on 1 or 2 tracks on those. I'm just used to like just let that haze wash over you. It's an album that definitely cements the phrase "groove is in the heart," Dave. Groove is in the heart. It's a 4 5 nice. For me.
I enjoyed it. Not a perfect album. As I said, there's a bunch of tracks from this that I really liked and would probably listen to as individual tracks in like a playlist. But then there are sections that just didn't really kind of hold my attention and became kind of background music, to be honest. Very easy listen. As I said, it's a great vibe. It's very chilled, but it's still got that stoner groove you can get into. I'm just not sure how much I'll come back to it as a whole album and listen to it. But I can definitely see myself sticking a bunch of these tracks in playlists with other stuff. It's 3.5 for me. Nice. Still enjoyable, just slightly under yourself. Stoner Totally out on May 6th on Heavy Psych Sounds. Let us know what you think. I'll put some links below to the band's Facebook, to the Bandcamp, so you can check it out, and let us know your thoughts and opinions on these new tracks from Stoner. That is the review. Thank you for checking it out. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.